Alrighty, and we are back with another cozy stream with the Blue Dog Alvin and special guest Mossflower.
Howdy.
Howdy, howdy. So excited to have you here. We're going to let folks settle in really quick. Very excited to be chatting with you about your upcoming game, Dungeon Bodega Simulator. So really excited to check out the bodega, figure out the simulation, and then especially get into the nice retro aesthetic of the dungeon.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat about it.
Yeah. So let us give folks a little bit of time to come in here. We have a lot of really cool questions to ask Moss, and I'm really excited for you all to get to meet Moss, learn more about their journey in game development, especially doing the development of this indie dev title, this game title. So yeah, welcome in everyone. Let me welcome everyone. Hi Foxy. Hi Jenna, welcome in. How are y'all doing? Oh, I forgot to enable those. Let me enable that really quick. Interview, we're doing an interview. Happy, welcome in. We're going to be interviewing the lead game developer behind Dungeon Bodega Simulator. I feel like it's a little bit like a tongue twister, honestly. Dungeon Bodega Simulator.
It really is, yeah.
Oh, thank you. And then we're excited to actually hear from you all about any questions you all have for Moss. We have very cool set of questions to go through, and then thank you all for everyone who's been submitting before the interview some questions in the Discord. So excited to dig into those questions, and I will sorry for my dog. Baby is very excited too to ask Moss a bunch of different questions about game design. Ria, welcome in. Welcome in, everyone. How are you all doing? Hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday or Thursday. It is Wednesday, right, Moss?
I think it is, yes.
Okay, cool. The week's been so packed, honestly, I'm kind of like, wait, I said it right? So cool.
Yep.
Oh, Uri-san. レードありがとうございます。お疲れ様でした、ウリさん。タムシーさん4パス。ビジューさん4パス。セイニン4パス。あゆみさん4パス。聞いた？Welcome in. Soda-san Yampasu. Rico, welcome. Thank you for the shout out to Uri-san. Gamu-san Yampasu. Rogan-san Yampasu. Kaze-san Yampasu. Ryan-san Yampasu. I will be reviewing the interview process from my expert interviewer perspective. So hyped. Happy to have you here, Happy. Definitely, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well. We're looking forward to picking Moss's brain and learning more about the game dev life. シーニャンパスフリフリ皆さんいらっしゃいませ。今日は、スペシャル配信。はい。こちらはモスです。Game developer です。はい。This is Moss. He's a game developer. They are working on this title. 新しいゲームは Dungeon Bodega Simulator. It is a retro-inspired I want to say farming. I guess there's some farming in it, right, Moss? Yeah. There's some farming, but well, I won't spoil it. I'll let Moss definitely tell us more about it in just a bit. But yeah, it's gonna be a really cool game. So I'm excited to talk with Moss about it. Excited to showcase part of it, and then obviously want to encourage you all to go check it out. I don't know if Chi is here. Chi, if you're here, can you get the link to Dungeon Bodega Simulator? I forgot to put it in the chat, and then can you just pin it for us? It is on Steam, so Dungeon Bodega Simulator.
Yep, that's right.
Hi, Little Machine. Welcome in, everyone. Very excited to have you all here. Very excited to have our very special guest, lead game designer Moss. Let me sure I said hello to everyone. Uri-san, yan pasu. Otsukaresama deshita. Redo arigatou gozaimasu. For those who don't know my friend Uri-san, please give her a follow. Go check her out. She likes to do streams of both artwork and of games, and today she was doing some traditional watercolor painting. I saw her finish up a very tasty-looking treat, drawing an individual eating fried chicken.
No,
and then, yeah, and then there was another friend photo, I guess you could say. It looked like they were looking at the phone together. That's what she was working on today, and showing off her little Kirby toy.
Oh,
Please
that's
give her a
awesome.
follow. Yeah, Udi sounds really cozy. I love her art style. It's really fun to chat with her. So she likes to play a lot of indie games too, usually on the Switch. So if Dungeon Bodega Simulator comes out on Switch, maybe, you know.
Very
might
possible.
wanna-
The Switch
yeah.
2 has like the mouse mode, which would help a lot.
Yeah, so maybe. Let me catch up here. All right, I see we have some more questions. We will definitely, please post that question again later on. We're going to have a Q&A from the chat near the end of the interview. But yes, great question. I actually think we're going to touch on that in the beginning too. Porunto-san, yonpasu. Titiri, yonpasu, welcome in. Waku waku, hi. Very exciting. Waku waku. Dungeon Bodega Simulator is fantastic. Oh man, we already got a fan in here. Moss, we already got someone who's played through the game.
HLM has been a very big supporter so far. I've really appreciated it.
Oh, we love that. Thank you, Little Machine. Toshiro Yonpasu, welcome in. Support of Yonpasu, welcome. How are you? Bonoiche Toshiro, ABB, Pet, welcome. Nani-san Yonpasu. Pretty. You may need to update the game. There's a fairly large bug on the second day. Uh-oh. Okay, well, we will get into that in just a moment. And then
No
I'll
worries.
showcase some really cool stuff. Alrighty. Let me see. I think we got everyone here. Yeah. Dogene. Urei-san kojirukoso. Dogene. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you so much for the support, Urei-san. And again, if you haven't already, go check out Urei-san. Give her a follow. And let's get a shout out from Moss here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, definitely go check out Moss, who is the lead game designer of this game. We're going to talk to you in just a few moments. Last seen playing through Deadlock. Ooh.
Yes.
I forget, are you playing the new little, I think there's a little mouse character now?
Oh yeah, Rem is fantastic. I've been playing. There's a battle priest that's been my main so far. That he was also just added.
Oh man, a battle priest. Holy moly, sign me up. Yeah, welcome in everyone. We're going to give just a few more minutes for folks to kind of come in, settle down, and then we're going to jump right into the interview. Very excited. I'm super excited. Waku waku desu. I want to already start asking the questions. Yeah, I hope you all are having a fantastic Wednesday or Thursday. I super appreciate you all being here, especially for this very special stream. I love doing these game developer interviews, and I'm very, very thrilled and excited to have Moss here so we can learn more about their journey in game development and also this game, Dungeon Bodega Simulator. I already have a ton of questions. Can't wait to see you touch on the ones I have in mind. Oh yeah! I'm glad you had the questions. Happy. We will definitely touch on those. And for those that we don't, please put them in the chat when we get to the audience Q&A. Hi Vesper, welcome in. Thank you for the first time chat. Welcome. Yeah, for anyone who's joining us from Moss's side, welcome in again. Moss, feel free to let us know as well.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think we might just go ahead and get started here. So let me get out my trusty little paper, as I like to do. Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and start with learning more about you, Moss. First, we'll do some introductions right here. So for those who don't know Moss is again the lead game designer behind Dungeon Bodega Simulator, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, has professional game development experience.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so will you please tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, sure. Howdy, y'all. My name is Moss. Like Alan said, I'm a professional game designer. I formerly worked in mobile for a little bit, and then I worked at Xbox at Turn 10 on the Forza franchise for about 3 years. And then I started doing this little thing full time last year around August.
Oh my goodness. And also, Moss, you have hosted multiple indie game dev jams, right?
That is correct. Yes, we host an annual VTuber Tiny Jam, which I believe you took part in the first one of those.
I did.
It's always
Yeah,
a
it
really
was
fun
fun.
chance to see people make their first games.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about that too, so if you're here and you're an aspiring game developer, game designer, maybe software developer, you name it, or artist, like there's so many different roles in the game development world, and you're not quite sure how to approach it, I definitely recommend you go check out Moss's game dev jams when they come up, because they are very, very supportive. Lots of people coming in, both from a fresh perspective, never done it before, as well as seasoned veterans who are like, hey, we're here to help out. And correct me if I'm wrong, Moss, everyone uses a different kind of game engine, right?
Yeah, it's a platform agnostic jam. So if you have a tool that you like working with, like you're free to bring that. But for a lot of jams, folks will try like a new tool. It's a great opportunity to learn something new if that's what you have in mind.
Yeah, and some people actually get together and form teams, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I tend to do a lot of them solo just because I move kind of fast, but a lot of people will make teams. Some of the best work from this year was from like teams of 2 and 3 people.
That is amazing. I think, let's turn to you and your role. I've already said you're a game designer, but what is we're talking about teams here, like 2 and 3. Like what's Alien Fruit like? Tell us more about how big the studio is, who you all are, and what your role is in the company.
Yeah, sure. So Alien Fruit Games is more or less like my label for my personal games right now, but I'd love to eventually bring some other folks into it. Dungeon Bodega Sim is majority of my work, but I did get some friends, my lovely friends Olive, Taiga, and my girlfriend Comet helped with writing, and so there's a handful of characters in the game that they wrote. Then my cousin did all the music, so like the default soundtrack, which is now available on streaming actually. If you look up a Dungeon Bodega Sim soundtrack, he did the music for that. So definitely and all the friends and family that help like playtest and give feedback, like this is absolutely not a project that happened alone, but for right now for Alien Fruit I'm doing the majority of the work. So the design, a lot of the art, sourcing, finding art assets, putting the actual game together, all the bones and the programming, that's been me. So it's been pretty fun so far.
Wow, that's a really big set of roles to take on. So not only just game design, you're also doing the programming, and then I guess for those who are unfamiliar with the game development world, there's many different roles. Like the ones you probably think about immediately are like obviously the designer, someone who thinks about the fun ideas to implement, the software engineer, the person who actually puts it together, and then artists and the sound designers, all the folks who make it look good and sound good. But there's also roles like production, right? You don't hear about them. And then QA, of course, people know about, but they don't get as much love. So you had to fulfill quite a few of these roles, right? That traditionally, it would be literally one person's job to do each of those things.
Yeah, exactly. I think because the roles that I've found myself filling that were the most surprising, and definitely it made me gain a lot of respect for a lot of my peers that I've worked with in the past. Test is a big one, like the amount of work that goes into testing a game. Like we ran into that just right now of like I pushed an update with a bug in it and it was there for like the entirety of today, so I'm trying to fix that right now. But like having a test team behind that to work on that. Production you mentioned, so those are the people that actually help make sure that everybody else does their job and that the game gets done on time. Those are sort of the people that help decide how much game gets made and then help keep everyone on track. So having to do that myself and set up all sort of boundaries and task lists and that sort of thing was not new for me, but definitely like not my forte. And then community management's a big one that I wish I had more time for, but I've sort of just social media posts, but also reaching out to influencers and doing press circuit and reaching out to press, that sort of thing. It's a lot of work, especially when my main discipline is design. So working on the actual like mechanics and how the game works on the back end and what the player experience looks like.
I see we have a question here from Happy really quick. You talked about the music that your cousin worked on, correct? Is that right now what we're hearing in the background?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're in the main menu, no, that's the main menu music was done by. There's a lot of lovely like dungeon synth artists on itch, and so this was one that I didn't commission, but purchased their set of it. The artist is, I believe, it's the Sapphic Witches, and you can find their album. It's The Tower on itch. That's very solid. So you'll start to hear Eric's music as soon as you start the game. And then it actually is dynamic, so it shifts with the different parts of the day. And so whether it's like the morning, the afternoon, the evening, or night, you'll get different tracks.
Oh, man. Yeah, and I'm sure I won't move my mouse just yet, but there is a demo of this game available in case you all want to start checking it out while we're talking. But I'm sure if I moved my mouse, I'm sure if I moved my mouse to the credits screen, we would see all of that in there. I took a peek earlier. There was a lot of folks credited.
There's a lot, yeah.
So definitely check out that. Please.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say with the credits, one thing that you'll notice really quickly is there's a lot of like pre-made art assets. I'd say a good solid 90% of the game is pre-made assets that I got from various sources, whether that's like the itch store or the Unity store. Because I'm not like a 3D artist myself. I'm trying to learn. There's a handful of items in the game that I did model myself, but for the most part, it's all like pre-made fantasy sets that other people made. And so that was a bit of the trick, was finding the right assets that fit the theme, that sort of work together, and then I edited a lot of them. So a lot of the textures in the game are custom, or I edited them to sort of make them all fit together. Because it's hard to find one author who's made all the assets you'll need for a game, and so sort of that's a bit of a skill I had to learn, was figuring out how to create what I needed if I couldn't find it.
Oh man, there's a few more roles right there. You mentioned like, creative director, as well as like the technical artist. Yeah, like lots of different things there. Let's talk about the game some more. So obviously we had some questions come in about what is this game? So yeah, let's start there. Yeah, what is Dungeon Bodega Simulator? And what can people do in it?
The quick pitch that I have for you is Dungeon Bodega Simulator is a lo-fi fantasy shop simulator where you grow crops, brew potions, forge weapons, solve some puzzles, solve some mysteries. Where you're playing as El Murkwater. They're an adventurer who just got laid off, so they're sort of taking up this bodega as sort of a temporary form of employment while they're getting back on their feet. And so the narrative explores themes of like imposter syndrome and sort of dealing with that sort of traumatic event. While also just being a very fun, chill experience, about 3 to 4 hours. It's not a very long simulation game. It was important to me to actually have an ending, because a lot of these simulators will tend to go on forever, like they're designed for thousands of hours of gameplay without a lot of new stuff actually unlocking with any of those hours. And that just sort of offends me as a person who cares about like my time and players' time on Earth, So I wanted to make sure that, you can play the game for as long as you'd like. There is an endless mode, but the actual story sort of wraps up and has a point, like the credits actually roll at some point.
And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, there's multiple days in this game, in-game days, right?
Yep, there's about 24 main in-game days. I added 1 or 2 extra just as I've like thought of more things I wanted to write. But yeah, core like 24 days. The demo is 7 days, so you can experience kind of the first 7 days of the project there if you want to get a feel if you'd like it or not. But yeah.
Yeah, and again, if you're interested, definitely check out the pinned link. Thank you, Moz. And there is a demo available free of charge. Just go ahead and go download the thing and start enjoying.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, you mentioned that it's actually a little bit. It's not just all cozy. There's some parts in here where it's like, hey, there's like a whole story arc. Like, this poor adventurer laid off, and then they remind us again. Did they inherit this from their uncle? This bodega?
I'd say the lore is absolutely not clear in game, but yeah, in my head they like inherited this from like an uncle or an aunt. Is like, hey, if, like I have this space if you want to go spruce it up and turn it into something.
And then tell us what we had this question come in, but what is a bodega?
Sure, yeah. So bodega it comes from the Spanish word for storeroom. And it came with Puerto Rican immigrants to New York specifically, open up these convenience stores to sort of serve their local community needs. And they sort of became these hubs of community, and on top of sort of serving communities that were looking for products that they weren't able to find at like the big supermarkets. And so it's like sort of local. What classifies a bodega is usually that you can buy food there. But it's not like a full grocery. It's not like a butcher, specialty butcher, like a specialty shop, if that makes sense. And so a lot of bodegas now in New York City, you can buy like hot food at. They're like famous for like chopped cheese, is like a sort of chopped hamburger sandwich that you can get. I'm not from New York, so it's a bit of pulling from culture of friends and the times that I've been able to visit, and just really fell in love with the culture. But the bodegas are very much like an immigrant business, because they started with the Puerto Ricans, which got sold to a lot of various like Dominican immigrants after that. And now I believe it's a lot of Yemeni immigrants have now bought those bodegas from the previous owners. And to the point where actually I mentioned it a bit in the game actually. But there was the Yemeni organization for the bodegas actually organized a protest for the Muslim ban in 2017, and so it's just a very cool organization supporting local businesses, and so that sort of community spirit is what I wanted to sort of embody with the game. And so that's what a bodega is. It's basically a corner store, but with a lot more community elements and a little bit more tropical fruits.
Tropical fruits. Oh man. Did I hear you right that you said chopped hamburgers or
chopped cheese is sort of
chopped cheese,
you do like the hamburger meat and the cheese, and you chop it up on the grill, do some like onions and veggies, and you put that on the bread. It's a very, very good.
Oh man, I gotta get one of those. And will we see some of those references in the game, or is it just more go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's more of reference. I make sure that in the game there's a book where you have like information on different mechanics, and there's a page that's basically what I just explained to you, because I wanted to sort of, if I'm going to use the name Bodega, I want to honor that legacy and sort of reference that. If I do another one of these in the future, or I do a DLC, I would love to lean more into the sort of urban fantasy vibe, and sort of like really acknowledge and honor that history there would be really cool. But for right now, it's very fantasy oriented.
I love that. We love to celebrate cultures here, and I love that you're doing that and honoring the name of Bodega with the history of it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about so players. We kind of teased like they can farm in this game to make some food. What else can players do in this game?
There's a handful of core mechanics. As you start with the farming, you sort of learn how to do that. You'll then unlock potions, that's how you sort of make a variety of potions for customers that they might drink right at your stall, and you might see what happens to them when they drink your different potions. And you have 13 different potions. And you have 8 different crops as well. And then once you've unlocked potions and you've been doing that for a little bit, you might unlock, or you have the option to unlock smithing. And so you'll be able to forge weapons by smelting down ores, forging it at an anvil, and then sharpening it. And those are all little mini games that I developed that I'm quite happy with, because they do a good job of sort of breaking up like the regular flow of your dungeon bodega. And there's also a whole like mystery side quest. So there's a variety of puzzles that if for some reason you sort of get tired of the day-to-day, you can go on a side quest and explore some. And there's a handful of other side quests that the game will sort of force you to do to sort of get out of your bodega a little bit and maybe stretch your adventuring instincts.
Oh, we actually get to go outside. I kind of thought we were just stuck in a dungeon.
You are stuck in the dungeon, absolutely. There's no like outside, but you're not. You can get out of your little shop at least. There's a few other areas to explore.
There will be a little pod of grass somewhere we can touch, but not outside the dungeon. Awesome. Tell us then, who do you have in mind as like the ideal player for this? What kind of players would love your game the most?
I think I definitely I'm a player who I love shop simulation games. It's part of the reason I made this was because I was frustrated with the quality that a lot of them are at these days. But it's some amazing ones. I definitely don't want to throw any shade, but there's been a lot of generative AI usage in some of the other ones, and that's very disappointing to me. So I wanted to make something that sort of had those core mechanics and really filled that niche. So I made it for myself and my friends that like that sort of games first. But I definitely made sure that the mechanics are approachable enough and the tutorials robust enough that I think anyone would enjoy this. And hopefully, because the timer of 3 to 4 hours, most people folks that would normally avoid a simulation game because they know how long they can take might reconsider it just to experience the story, enjoy the side quest, enjoy the puzzles, that sort of thing.
And you mentioned you saw other existing games, and so you wanted to improve upon it. That's always a big thing in game dev crafting. It's obviously there's game mechanics that are fun, but you want to combine the things that make sense for you, because ideally the game you make is something that you want to play yourself. Can you tell us more about what inspired you? What games or media inspired you to make this?
Yeah, sure. So there's a few big ones. Coffee Talk was a big one for just dealing with the dialogue and the player interactions, because that's a game that's all about customers, NPCs coming into your shop and you serving them, but also getting to learn their story after a while and sort of interacting with them and getting to gently influence in different ways and be a positive influence. And I thought that was really cool, so I wanted to take some elements of that. If you've played a simulator game before, so stuff like Gecko Shop was a big one, but anything on the list of any of the shop simulators, so Shopkeep, Teddy's Haven, Creature Kitchen, kind of. If you played that, a few of my friends released that game last month. Amazing simulator. It's not a shop simulator, but you like cook for various cryptids, so like the Bigfoot, that sort of thing. Super fun, cute game that's also nice and short, but has like the similar like first person simulation mechanics. So that definitely was a big inspiration to me because I got to play that last year when they demoed it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's just, and like a lot of fantasy stuff. Like you can see it's a like sort of retro PSX vibes. Because I've just been really enjoying that trend, both from like a player perspective and then as a dev perspective. It's a lot easier to match that style for me personally with my sort of amateur nature when it comes to 3D. And so I definitely that was a strategic choice to make sure that I could pick stuff that I could, if I got in a bind and I needed to make something, I knew I could make something that would fit the style. By picking something that's not crazy realistic.
Yeah, and also probably a little bit better on the performance side too. Yeah. So.
Yes, absolutely.
I should have told you. I put on the screen some of the inspirations you put in a little slide deck for us. So yeah, here's in case you wanted to point any of these and talk about those.
I absolutely do. Kiosk is a huge one. It's about an hour long. It's a horror game. But it's really like if you like horror games, I think you'll really enjoy it. A lot of the core mechanics in terms of being able to, like the fact that you can only pick up one item at a time, being able to throw items as a direct, like I got the inspiration from that game, as well as just sort of the mechanic of like customers coming up to your shop ordering and then leaving. A lot of that really inspired how I formatted Dungeon Bodega Simulator. I loved Skin Deep. Their writing style is amazing. That's an immersive like stealth simulator that came out last year that's actually built on the Doom engine, like the Doom 4 original like 2003 engine. It's incredible. It's a super great game. If you like Hitman, that's the sort of style of game. But that game is, with the writing, it takes place as you're the only human in most circumstances, and then you're a security agent on a spaceship and all the other crew members are cats. Which is I think a very distinctly funny premise, but the way that they do their writing is it's written in a way where it's genuine. Like what the writers put themselves in the headspace of, okay, how would you actually, if you were going to treat these cats as peers and coworkers, how would that writing look? So it's genuine while sticking to like the funny premise. I feel like brings a lot of humor while not diminishing any of like the solid emotional moments, because they treat everything with like a respect that I wanted to take a lot of inspiration from. And then yeah, Potion Craft was another big mechanical influence on like the day and night loop and the sort of resource gathering to potion crafting to selling loop. So yeah.
And was the cat partially? I'm assuming in the other game the cats are actual cats, like animals.
The cats are actual
like,
cats. Yeah, they're great.
They're cats.
The cat in Dungeon Bodega Simulator is actually, that's an essential part of a bodega, is a bodega cat. That is a very important part. There's actually recent legislation in New York that's going through to legalize that as like a health code thing, as like an allowance with the health code, because normally you wouldn't be allowed to have an animal like that in a place that serves food. But it's a very traditional animal to have in a bodega, so that's why we have one.
Oh, and spoiler alert, everyone, in case you didn't see the socials I put out for this social post, you can pet the cat. We're going to be able to have you all pet the cat if you want.
Yes.
So, very exciting Twitch integration. Excited for you all to check that out and also visit the bodega too. Let's see. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, I guess, what would you say makes your game unique? Obviously the bodega, like history and the celebration of the culture over there, but what else makes your game unique to the other ones that you mentioned here?
Yeah, I think the things that stand out to me are the places where I wanted to make really intentional design decisions was the like deliberate end. So like having the credits, like having the experience be fairly short comparatively. So when I mentioned cozy, like it's pretty obvious. Like some of the narrative themes and some of the visuals aren't very like traditional, what you'd think of like cozy, with pastel colors and sort of muted color palettes. So a lot of the cozy is baked into the mechanics. You're never rushed. There's never like a time limit for anything. You're able to take as long as you'd like for anything. So every phase of the day, like you control when you go to sleep and when you open the shop. And so you can sort of take your time as much as you'd like. You can go at your own pace. And then I removed some of the mini games that I really don't like from some of these other shop simulators. Mainly, a lot of them will include the ability for you to price your items. So sort of the idea there is that you'd be able to like, try to find the sweet spot between not too low that you're losing money and not too high that people don't buy it. But I find that is not a very interesting interaction a lot of the time, because there's usually just like a range that the game sets as correct, and you just have to guess somewhere in between that, and that kind of gets old after a few hours. And then making change, like a lot of games will do that mini game where like you get the bills and you have to like count up the change. I do enough of that I've done enough of that before. I don't need that in a video game. So that's the sort of stuff that I wanted to leave out. And then the character interactions and like NPCs actually having dialogue and that sort of thing is also a rarity for this genre. I was inspired a lot by Kiosk. Kiosk has amazing dialogue for every character that walks up to your like little burger kiosk. And I took a lot of inspiration from that, because not a lot of these shop simulators tend to be mainly mechanics driven and less story driven.
Yeah. You mentioned that I think it's a really good point that this was an intentional choice on your part, and that's a really powerful thing to be an indie dev, because I definitely can agree. I play like no shade on it, but like Moonlighter. Like there's a bunch of that like, let's price this thing, right? And to your point, it's like, okay, like that's kind of key for the first like 15 minutes or something, and then you're like, I want to go do other things. Yeah. Speaking of time, though, let's talk about your game development journey, especially within the context of building this game out. So, the first question I have for you is, how long has this game been in development?
Yeah, technically, I would say Dungeon Bodega Sim has been a thing I've been working on for about 10 months now. I started about in August, but the project itself is a little bit longer than that. So originally at the beginning of last year in the spring, me and my friend Zem were just talking about games and thinking about making games, and we both love isopods, like just like roly-polies, the little critters that are actually crustaceans. They're not insects, which is a fun fact. And how we both love simulation games. We were both playing Gecko Shop at the time, which is another solo developed simulation game that I put a lot of hours into. But we both had like strong feelings about some of the mechanics, and we just sort of were like, hey, you know what? Why don't we just try to make our game together? So we made this. That was IsoPals. If you heard of that, that was a sort of isopod breeding simulator, and you were sort of running a museum for isopods. So you weren't selling anything. But you were able to sort of like build up your museum and breed these isopods. It was very cute. But Zem unfortunately had to step away due to health issues around August last year. And so I was sort of left with this half of a game that was made. I had like the AI for the isopods. I had the NPCs, the customers working. I had the first person movement and stuff working. And I was like, well, you know what? I still wanted to make a game the idea was I wanted to make a game that was going to be done by December 2025. And I was like, I still want to make a game this year. I'm going to switch and pivot to a theme that I know I can do, like with just the resources at my disposal. So I spent like a week sort of brainstorming, trying out some different things, playing some different games. And I sort of landed on it. I knew I wanted to stick with the shop genre because that was still important to me. I liked the sort of management sim style, so I wanted to sort of go back to that. And I knew that genre well enough that I knew I could do it well. And then I decided, fantasy's a very fun theme. That's a screenshot from IsoPals, which I still loved. It had a great like retro like 80s tech or like 90s tech aesthetic on top of like a solar punk sort of vibe, more modern vibe. So it was had a story sort of about like reconstructing society in a way that that doesn't have money, which I would love to go back to that concept at some time. That'd be super cool. But I decided. Yeah, fantasy would be fun. So I launched into Dungeon Bodega kind of full time, and with that I pivoted the concept, and so I actually reused a bit of the code. The code for the slimes in Dungeon Bodega Sim is the original code for the isopods.
That I think is really key, is being able to reuse, especially in the game development business, but even especially as an indie dev, like reusing stuff that you already had. You mentioned earlier that you've went to asset stores to go pick up like already pre-built things, but you built your own simulation loop already with the isopods. So being able to reuse that's super important.
Exactly.
And this is IsoPals you mentioned, in case someone is interested in checking that out later.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything like I have some social media posts, but we never finished a full demo with that. But it might come out in the future.
I thought there was one on itch or something, but maybe
there might be. There was at one. I think you're right. There were, because I did showcase it at one point, and so we had a really rough version that I got to showcase in person.
if y'all haven't seen it already, I got to take some sneak peeks during Moss's development of it. They got the cutest little isopods. You should definitely look at it.
Zeb's an amazing artist.
They're so cute. You love isopod, go check that out. Moving along, because I do want to make sure we get to the Q&A session for our audience. We have a few more questions here. So I guess you mentioned at the beginning of this game development for Dungeon Bodega Simulator started actually as a pivot from the Isopals. And you kind of talked about this a little bit, but can you tell us more about the guiding principles you wanted to adhere to from the get-go? You mentioned a little bit about, like, you know, you clearly had choices on the way you would play the game, but in terms of maybe like AI usage and stuff, like, tell us more about what did you for sure think, like, this is what I need to make sure I adhere to?
Yeah, so the biggest one was maintaining scope. So scope, if you're unfamiliar with the word with what scope means in game development, that's basically just how much game do you make. So like a giant AAA open world game it has a very big scope that has a lot of mechanics, a lot of features, versus something like Ultra, where it's just, you know, the one main game mode with the cards. That's a much smaller scope. And so as a game developer, it's one of the most important things you have to pay attention to. Because of the issue known as scope creep, and that's where you start making something and you're like, oh, it'd be really cool, you know, if the slimes could make potions, and then that's another feature. Or, you know, it'd be so cool, you know, if you could race the slimes together, that's another feature. And then before you know it, you won't ever finish the game. And so, I mean, it was really important to me because I wanted to try to get the game out at the end of the year. It didn't end up happening, but I still learned a lot along the way. It was important to me to sort of like, what's a goal that I think I can hit, that I think I can reasonably hit, given like my past velocity, how fast I've been able to work, and what I've been able to do before. And so it was really, when I was sort of chopping the concept around and talking to some friends about it and getting some feedback, how big the game was a really important thing for me to pay attention to. And so that's why, like, the shop loop is pretty tight. That's the main part of the game. There's the day-night cycle, but other than that, the actual environment doesn't change too much. It takes place entirely inside the dungeon, so I didn't have to create too much level design. I actually did a lot more than I planned on doing, which is kind of fun. I think it turned out really nice. But that was definitely something I paid attention to. You mentioned no Gen AI usage. That's just a thing for Alien Fruit, and for me going forward permanently is like, I'm never touching this stuff. Like, it's important to me. Human art is really important to me on several different levels. Like, it's important to me to be making art with my own two hands, and then the people that I'm making art with have that same value. And so that was just from the get-go for sure already baked in. And then I wanted to tell, like, the story is very about like community, and like I had just gotten laid off at the time, at the exact same time that we had to pivot from Isopals to Dungeon Bodega Sim. I got laid off from my full-time gig at Xbox, and so I was like, you know, I'm feeling a lot of feelings, and I'd love to put that into my work in some way. And so sort of working through that a little bit in the context was fun, and then sort of also working all the way through it was great.
A little bit of like a therapeutic moment then.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess, what would you say, like, is something surprising you encountered during the game's development? It sounds like you're tenured in gaming and game development professionally, but then, like, as you mentioned, scope was very important for you. What is something that just kind of came up and you weren't expecting it?
Yeah, there's definitely a few things. I think this is my first solo project. So I've worked on games before with teams. I've worked on game jam games before, but this is my first time trying to make a product that I will intend to sell to people for money. And so I feel like that raised my internal bar very high. And so I sort of approached it differently. And during the development, I think I realized I really like the writing for narrative. I love writing characters and interactions. But sort of the way that I developed the game with the like firm start and firm end means that if I update it down the line, unless I'm really intentional with what I change, there's a solid chance that, you know, anyone who's already played it isn't going to go back to, like, you know, experience like a bug fix or like one new feature. Like, I'll have to do a whole new DLC. And so I think for my next project, I'd love to do something that I can sort of update more frequently. And that the game loop supports that like people who are currently playing it can enjoy the new update, and anyone who wants to come back to it can just dive right back in and enjoy the new update. I think that really fit with how I'd like to develop in the future. But that's not something I knew about myself going in, and so like I had to make a whole game to learn that about myself, and I'm really proud of that. Another thing was sort of I worked with some of my friends and my girlfriend on the narrative, learning how to create like direct was a very new skill that I was not expecting to be as hard as it was, but sort of figuring out what the creative direction is, communicating that, and then working with the other people I'm working with to figure out like, is this aligned with the vision? Do we need to change stuff? Do I need to request changes? Like, how do we do that, and how do we navigate that? Was super difficult, and we created something really, really fun, but that was definitely not something I was expecting to be as much work as it was.
Yeah, especially like whenever you work with other people, like when you work with yourself, you're like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do, right? But working with others, and the communication, as you mentioned, is super key, because your interpretation of the same words could be very different from someone else's interpretation.
Exactly, yeah.
If you could go back and do something over again, what would you do differently?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think I would not announce a release date is my main thing, because I think I had sort of made a promise to myself at the beginning of 2025 I was going to make a game by the end of it, and so I wanted to keep that to myself. And I think my mistake was getting my demo done, releasing that, getting some pretty good feedback, feeling like, oh yeah, the game's like 80% done. Spoilers, it wasn't. It was probably like 50% at that point. Because there's definitely like the closer you get to the end, the more effort you have to put into to get the same amount of progress you could have gotten at the very beginning of the project. That's something I've learned about my development process. But I would have waited to announce a release date till I was actually ready to knew that it was ready to come out. Because that was the one thing that really aided me, was like saying like, oh yeah, end of 2025, and then having to renege on that sort of promise to my community. So that'd be a big one. And then on like the more dev end of things with Steam, with their Next Fest, that's when they show all like where devs can submit their demo, and it's like put into a big group, and it's, hey, these are all a bunch of new demos coming to Steam, you know? The actual requirement for that is only that the demo hasn't been in Next Fest before. So you can have a demo that's been out for several years and have it participate in Next Fest, and that's what tends to be the best ones of Next Fest, are the ones that have been around for a while. Versus I like rushed and kind of crunched to get my demo ready, and it was like the roughest, most gnarliest part of the build that I could make. It worked, and I got some great feedback on it. But that probably would also be something I would do differently. Was I would release my demo as early as I could, and then I would work on that and iterate on that up until I was ready to release it, and then do Next Fest.
So two big learnings. One, maybe not having the extra pressure of the deadline. Although to your point about scope, then maybe it was a good thing. Blessing in disguise makes you like really be creative with the constraint of the time that you had.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the second one there you mentioned, remind me again. The second thing you do differently.
The Next Fest and timing the demo release.
Right. Feedback is a gift. So yeah, absolutely. Trying to get more feedback up front so you can like iterate more quickly on it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we're coming to the tail end of the game dev journey questions here, and then we'll open up to audience Q&A. But if you can share, what are some potential future plans that you and your studio have in mind, either for Dungeon Bodega Simulator or maybe your next big project?
Sure, yeah. So it's definitely up in the air. Like I mentioned, I'm still hunting on the hunt for full-time game design work. I recently took a QA job actually, so that's taking up most of my days now. So I have to be more strategic about what I'll be doing next. We have an unfinished horror project that I've been considering doing that's less like jump scary and more like atmospheric. But I would love to go back to that because I had like the bones of it started. So I'd love to sort of revisit that with all my new knowledge and new experience. And I have a feeling I could get that done a lot quicker than I initially thought I'd be able to do it. That'd be really cool with Dungeon Bodega Simulator if it gets a good enough reception. I would love to do a really big free update after the fact with a bunch of new content, and then possibly do a DLC down the line. Would be really cool because I definitely have some ideas for what's in this multi-layered dungeon that you didn't get to see yet. And then I would love to do a sequel like a few years down the line, probably, because I've learned so much from this project. There's so much that I do differently on like the technical side of things and the design side of things that I would love to sort of coalesce that vision into something new again. But where the game's at right now, I feel like is really solid. It got to like around 80% of what I'd be happy with, and I decided that was good. So we're doing it.
I think that's important. Going back to that whole principle of like feedback and like faster iteration loops, like MVP, right? Minimum viable product.
Yep.
Just got to get it out there.
Exactly.
Awesome. Let's turn it over to the audience. So we did have some pre-submitted questions, but for those who are live with us right now, also feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we'll see what Moss has to say about those. The first question we had submitted comes from Bebop, who asks, does the game have rats? And if not, will the game have rats?
The game right now, unfortunately, does not have rats. But hey, if it does well enough, I would love to add some rats as set dressing, that sort of thing. I think I have a few models picked out for it. I think would be really fun.
I think it makes sense. We have the cat, so of course there's no rats. There's a cat.
Yep.
From Ethereal Chinchilla, we talked about this already, but what's a bodega? If you had to like tell someone like, a couple words, what's a bodega?
Yeah, it's a convenience store in New York City that's run by immigrants and has a lot of like immigrant history behind it.
Perfect. And then kind of touched on this a little bit, but if there's anything else you want to add, from JA, they ask, when did you first get the idea for the game and what challenges did you face during the development?
Yeah, I definitely say I conceptualized it around August last year, and it was, but very much came from like just a lifelong love of shop simulator games and fantasy as a genre, and playing a few games in like with media that experiment with sort of like urban fantasy, of sort of combining like a few modern day elements with a more fantasy setting. I thought would be kind of fun to explore.
And Chi asks here, I believe you kind of commented this as well already, but what made you want to create a game like this out of all the other games that you mentioned you could have been making as well?
That answer is definitely the scope, is that I had half of a simulator game already built, and so I wanted to figure out what I could use the bones of the Isopals project for, and actually create it into something that I could deliver eventually.
Ink for Justice asks about games, media, and other devs that you were influenced by. I believe you already talked about games and media already, but what about, or maybe you could talk about more about media or devs. We talked about games for sure, but what about media or devs? Were there any that influenced you?
I think like that, the wonderful thing about working in the indie scene is there's so many amazing devs creating really, really cool like projects and games right now. Like this has been it's been a not very great year for the games industry, but it's been an amazing year for games and like indie games. There's been so much cool stuff coming out. Definitely a big one is the folks over at the Rat Zone with their game Creature Kitchen. Absolutely loved it, and like that they nail like. If you like the visual style of Dungeon Bodega Simulator, go check out Creature Kitchen because they nailed it. Like their tech artist went above and beyond with creating a really fun atmosphere and just nailing the vibes there. And like I also like I love like Hideo Kojima's the Death Stranding series is a big one for me. Just because that game focuses on like what if we took a game with all the mechanics of like a third-person shooter, and made it as non-violent as possible and gave you these sort of options to form personal connections instead of like break them, if that makes sense. And it's very like I really adored that because I love solar punk is a big theme for me personally. Solar punk, if you're is sort of it's a both like an aesthetic but also a political movement of sort of reimagining the future of what do we look like post whenever we fix climate change, when we fixed a lot of the societal issues, when we have universal health care, when we've gotten rid of capitalism, what does the world look like? And that's like sort of solar punk is imagining that sort of world. And I think that Death Stranding games are very close to that. They're a little bit post-apocalyptic, but besides that, it's very much about imagining a world after we get like across a lot of our problems. And I love to explore that in my work.
Oh man, I can't wait to see what that'll be. Maybe that's in the sequel to Dungeon Bodega Simulator. Yeah. Maybe. Last question from Pete Smith, and then we'll take from the live audience here. Pam's to ask, what is something you learned during the process of making this game that you will take into future projects you make?
Yeah, I think because we touched on like the scoping, the making a type of game that I can update more regularly. Would be really fun. I think another one for me though is just on the technical side of things, is there's so many things that I was doing for the first time with like sort of think about like physics and collisions and graphics and like performance. Like I'm very glad the game seems to run pretty okay. That is not because of me at all. That is mostly a coincidence. And I'm very, very fortunate that happened because I have a lot to learn in that area. And so going for it, and I think working with my friends on narrative and working with, I hired a lovely Australian dude named Wade to do the models for the wizard and the kobold in the game. And he did an amazing job with that. And I think I definitely learned like where it's important to put my own effort to like learn something new, and when I need to ask for some help or get some professional help was definitely a big one.
Yeah, time is money, especially honing a craft a lot of time. So, perfect. Well, let's go to the audience and see. Our first question comes from Happy. They want to know, where does your name Mossflower come from?
That's a very easy one. I'm a big fan of the Brian Jacques books, the Mossflower. It's the Redwall series. It's about a 20-30 book series of it's like medieval mice and various forest critters, hedgehogs, moles, that sort of thing, that live in a little abbey in like a sort of medieval fantasy world. It's more medieval. There's a little bit of magic going on, not a lot. For the most part, it's very like medieval themed, and it's they go to war with, there's like rats and other creatures that attack the abbey, and it's just lots of books about various heroes, and like it's very, I like it. The series means a lot to me because I read it a lot as a kid. It's still amazing. Like the audiobooks are all acted and like narrated by the author. Would highly recommend. But one of the third book in the series is Mossflower, which is named after the Mossflower Wood, which is where Redwall, the main location, is located.
Does it have any other significance besides just the name, or is there something else that
for me, that's most of it. When I was choosing the name, I wanted to pick something that like meant something to me, but for the most part, like was unique enough that I would be recognizable, but not a super long name long name. And I feel like it worked pretty well. And I like just Moss in general as like a shortened nickname has been really great.
And just really quick on this, was the spelling also the same way in the book, or is there?
In the book, there's an extra O. It's for me, I'm missing the O because it does have the full Mossflower username on Twitch. They haven't been active in like 8 years, so I felt like it was safe to still go with it. But so yeah, the missing O is just sort of there for flair.
I thought that had
and
something
to make
to do
sure
with
I can get my username everywhere. Yeah.
I thought it had something to do with the third eyeball. Maybe that's where it went. So. Let's see. Turquoise says, I never read the Redwall books, but I remember the 90s cartoon based on them.
There was a very solid 90s cartoon that completely obliterated the canon of the books, and it's a very fun fandom topic there.
Here's another question. What is a feature you would love to put into your games that you haven't seen done anywhere else?
I wouldn't say it's not done anywhere else, but I love experimenting with games and genres that are heavily reliant on like money and removing that and seeing how we can still make that work. Like we were exploring that a little bit with Isopals of how do you make a shop simulator work without money, and so we sort of leaned on more like museum like showcasing vibes. But I was pulling a little bit from one of my favorite like solar punk books, like the book that sort of founded the genre of fiction is called Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. Amazing book. It's super short. It's about a non-binary T-monk who goes basically on a quest to the mountains to find themselves, and then meets a robot along the way, and they have like philosophical conversations the whole way. And it's a very lovely little book, very super touching. But it's a solar punk narrative, so in that book there's not money. Like they've moved past it, but they do sort of have a concept of like points that you can sort of use to spend on things in exchange, but there's no penalty for going negative. Like that's more seen as a community, like, oh, this person needs help, I'm gonna go like lend some help. I can see they're in the negative, instead of where like current day where being in the negative is such a like bad thing, both societally but also like culturally. And so sort of seeing how I can subvert that in games where the mechanics are really reliant on commerce and exchange is really interesting to me. And so you don't see that happen as often, I think, because it's a little bit hard to do. And that's part of why I didn't tackle that for Dungeon Bodega Simulator. But I would love to experiment with that later on.
That is such a fascinating idea. I when you're mentioning like points and stuff, I was thinking like this. There's a long time ago this Justin Timberlake movie, I think, where there's something about watches and time that they use. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. Besides that, the part that actually I thought was really cool that you mentioned was that if someone's in the negative, that means they need help. Not that they're lesser; they just need help. So
exactly. Yeah.
Chi asks, how many hours do you think would you say that you put into the development, and any difficult roadblocks?
I have actually a pretty good estimate on that. Midway through development, I'm using the Godot game engine, which I've loved. It's an open source game engine. It's on par with Unity, I'd say, in terms of functionality. Like Unity has a few advanced things that Godot doesn't, but for the most part, I've loved using it. It also has a branch on Steam, so about a quarter of the way into development, I swapped to the Steam version. So I currently have 900 hours on Steam, so that's my in-engine time, and then probably tack on an extra 400 hours for all the development before that, and then all the like going to showcase the game in person, going to like work like emailing press and emailing people and working on the game outside of the engine, or writing and meeting with my writers, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's all like 1,400 hours of work.
And you have this little picture here as one of the places you visited to do the press for it, yes?
Yeah, so I wanted to like physically exhibit the game. This was at the Washington State Games and Anime Expo. I was here with Seattle Indies to sort of show off my game. I was here with like 20 other indie games to show off my project. Super fun. Is with indie games, you don't do these that often because they're expensive and they don't really translate to wish lists or purchases. It's usually more of like a networking thing, so you can go say hi to all the other devs, and sort of if you're at like a big conference like PAX or Gamescom, or it used to be E3, so that you can make connections with like other industry people to try to like sell your game to a publisher or that sort of thing. But I wanted to show it off, get some feedback. It's also nice to see people play your game, and you can sort of get notes, take feedback. A lot of the current tutorial was based off of my learnings from this event.
Awesome. And I think that's really important to actually, like, as you mentioned, like see people do it, not just like wait for someone to write in, because sometimes people might not say something or recognize, but you can see it and you can tell like when things are going wrong. So let's see. Do you have any tips on how to pare down ideas and mechanics until you have something manageable?
Definitely, like you want to just like it's super ironic, but you want to try finishing stuff. You want to start some stuff and finish it. So with game development specifically, my recommendation is copy a really simple mini game from something you enjoy. So a lot of people will do Pong, a lot of people will do like a little shoot 'em up. That's the copying is totally okay at the beginning. Like if you're not planning on selling it, like it's very similar to like art, where like sketching, where like tracing is a part of your beginning learning journey of like learning some of the outlines and how to do like put forms together. Sketching in game development sketching and tracing in game development is also really important. And I mentioned sketches especially because like you don't want to start your first game shouldn't be like 100-hour open world experience. It should be something that you can like start and finish in like 1 or 2 minutes. Like you want to start with you want to make sketches before you move on to bigger drawings, before you do like giant stuff. And the same goes for game dev. You want to start with little small projects like game jam stuff, and then go on to bigger ones, because once you start finishing stuff, you'll sort of learn where your boundaries are and what you're able to handle. And there was one last part of that question.
I think there was one about making it manageable. So that's paring down and making it manageable.
Very much just like experimenting and trying stuff out, and then being willing to pivot. Like as soon as you start something, you're like, oh, this is going to take way too long. Pivoting to something easier if you need to. That was what I was going to say was, yeah, with like don't be afraid of like making a copy of something else. I compare it to like cooking. When you're learning how to cook, you don't start with your own custom dishes. You start with something simple that you already know, like mac and cheese or like a noodle dish that you've had 100 times before. Because while you're making it, you can taste it and you can tell if the taste is off. But if you're starting with new custom dishes right away, you have no clue what it's supposed to taste like, so you won't be able to know how good you're doing with it until the end, when it's way too late. So start with stuff that you sort of know the flavor of already. And try that.
I will say, as a little pup, I thought, American cheese, delicious. I love grilled cheese. Mashed potatoes, delicious. I love mashed potatoes. I tried putting those two together, and that was a bad idea. Don't do that. But I want to make sure we respect time, unless Moss, you're okay with staying on for a little bit longer to answer a few more questions here.
I don't have anywhere else to be.
All right, let's answer a few more questions here. But Jonah, thank you so much for that raid. Really appreciate it. We're doing an interview right now with lead game developer Moss, who is releasing their Dungeon Bodega Simulator game on March 24th, so in less than a week on Steam.
Yep.
And we're learning all about all the ins and outs of game design and game development, especially from the indie scene. But Moss also has experience from professional game development as well on the Forza series. And from Xbox, so very, very cool. Very seasoned professional here. Let's ask a few more questions from the chat here. But yeah, for anyone who's joining us right now, we are in the Q&A session. Feel free to put in some questions that you have about game development, game design, Dungeon Bodega Simulator, Moss, like
Yeah.
Put them all in the chat. Like we're very fortunate to have Moss here to help share more about what it's like to work in this field.
Yeah, no, I love inspiring other people to make games, because I firmly believe anyone can make a game. It's like, if you can type on a keyboard, I guarantee, like, you can make a game. You'll just need to adjust your expectations for what you can build to start.
Yes, I think that is so key, because, like, to your point, like, I think about this this concept of, like, making multiple clay pots. I'm sure you heard the story, like the people who make multiple clay pots get better and better versus the people who just like make one and try to do their best job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So definitely important to iterate, definitely important to experiment. We have a few more questions here. So what is something about game development that is not often talked about, but you find the most fascinating?
Ooh. Normally my one for that is scoping, because I feel like the two hardest parts about game development are paying the people to make the game and finishing it. And that finishing it is super reliant on the scope and how big you're going to make it. Another thing is, I think, there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes for games that I think that people don't realize. And another part of it is, I feel like often people will complain about game studios like not talking to them or being honest or revealing a lot. And internally, when you're at like a large studio, you're usually told, like, don't talk to anybody. Like, you're not allowed to talk to anybody. We have like designated figureheads for that. And so then it's super up to the management and like the upper levels to actually decide what gets communicated to players. And I don't always agree with those moves, and it leads to sort of an opacity there of players not knowing what's going on behind the scenes. And so even though the devs behind the scenes might really want to talk or might really agree with players on a lot of the criticisms, it's a corporate messaging strategy thing that I feel like is often forgotten, because some devs are very open because they're like indies or they're smaller publishers and they can afford to be very open, or that's just sort of their policy. I think that's the way to go. I think that's the better way to do it. But when you're a consumer, when you're a player, you might not realize that, like, the studios at Xbox really don't have that privilege, versus like the smaller studios can exercise that a lot more freely. And so you sort of apply the same judgment to all of them. And so I definitely think that's something to remember. And the other one would be that I think games are easier to make than most people would consider them to be. Like, I love, like, the Twine game engine is great. It's a text-based game engine where you can make text-based adventure games, and you can add images to them too. So I often suggest it for artists to like tell little interactive stories. But anyone can make a game in Twine in like an afternoon. Like, you could go make a video game and be a game dev right now if you wanted to.
I think also, to add on to that point, especially you mentioning like the messaging part, something people probably don't realize about in game development, Moss, maybe you could speak to this as well, is that people who are in the professional scene for game development, like trying to, maybe work at Xbox or what have you, maybe Square Enix, whatever, a big place, right? Oftentimes these devs probably are working on games they don't actually play themselves. Like, someone might be like, I love Hello Kitty, but I'm over here texturing Mortal Kombat, right?
No, that 100% happens. I feel like it definitely depends on the studio, because sometimes you will really want people that understand and play that sort of genre. Usually if it's like a designer, like I think of Riot specifically, like League of Legends, Valorant, for when they're hiring designers, they usually have a rank requirement to apply for those roles. So you have to have like a certain rank in their ranked mode for that game to even be considered for that role. Which is that's a bit of an anomaly, but some teams do take that very seriously. But oftentimes, especially when you're working on like a variety of projects, you're working on a lot of different things, and so like your job as a game dev, if you're doing your due diligence, is to sort of research it and understand those players and talk to them, get to know them, why they like what they like, why they play it that way, and sort of pay attention, because that's really important. Because I believe I could, like, you could develop whatever no matter what the genre is, but an understanding is really necessary, because I'm sure we've all played games where you play it and you're like, the people who made this don't get why people play this sort of game. We've had some examples of that recently, and I just think it's hard to do, especially if there's like, pressure from up on top to just like get it done, make it simple, that sort of thing. So it's a lot of pressures to juggle while you're working on a game like that.
I think that also reminds me that something people probably also don't think about is as Moss mentioned, judging from the top, they're looking at data, they're looking at numbers. So other roles we didn't even talk about were like product managers or like the data analysts. Like they come in and you don't think about them as making games, but they're there like behind the scenes trying to figure out like, hey, can we actually actively measure our people liking this, like with numbers to back it, not just like, oh, they said yes, right? So
metrics and data is a huge part of that, because like if you've ever thought to yourself while playing, you're like, oh, why didn't the devs just think about, I guarantee you in their bug database or their feature database there is exactly what you would have just said sitting there, and then below it is some comments from a producer or from a higher up that's like, can't do this, not enough time, not enough money, etc.
I have a few more questions here. So Chi, I think we kind of talked about this, but Moss, anything you want to add on to scoping down, like how are you able to scope down when you want to add so much for story and content?
I think my personal tip, because like I've ADHD, and this helps with me for like not getting hyperfixated on a feature that really is kind of out of scope, is write it down. Like you don't have to toss the idea away. Write it down. Make a list of things I want to add once I get the core done. Make that list, and then when you get a great idea, put that idea on that list and be like, great, I'll get to that after I get my core done. And you might get that core done, and you look at that list and be like, actually, I don't need like half of that. That's very normal. But like, you want to honor that creativity, you want to honor that spirit in a way, and so like writing it down and sort of, you know, doing a little bit, like expanding on it just a little bit enough so that you can remember what the idea was when you come back to it. That I found helps me a lot for sort of keeping my scope manageable and not leading into scope creep.
I feel the same way when I have a particularly interesting dream I woke up from. I'm like, I might want to like write a story or do something about that. So I'm going to just like, hopefully I remember it or draw a little picture and hopefully I can jog my memory. All right. I think this is the last question here we have for our live audience. But if you all have anything else that you're dying to know and you want to know, burning last minute questions, please put it in the chat while we still have Moss here. Although I'm sure Moss will be more than happy to chat with you on socials later.
Absolutely. Yes.
So Happy asks, what was the most meaningful thing a player said to you after playing one of your games?
That's a good question. I don't have a great quote to give back to you, but I've had one or two people finish Bodega Simulator and like say that the story really resonated with them, or like that it really meant a lot. And that's very surprising to me, because like I'm very, very proud of what I've done and like the story that I wrote, but it's so hard for me to conceptualize anyone else like enjoying it and then appreciating it and like getting it, you know. Especially because a lot of the mechanics are designed in a way that you sort of build a routine and you build a habit and you get sort of into like a more meditative like mindset, and that's intentional. Like the game doesn't textualize that anywhere, but that is intentional mechanically. I was sort of like that rhythm of like when you're in a spot in your life where you're not really where you want to be, but still finding the joy and the contentedness in it. And the fact that some people noticed that and then were able to like put words to that after playing was crazy to me, because I don't say that anywhere. It's just mechanical. So I was very chuffed that came through.
I think that's a mission success. Like,
yeah,
good job.
Absolutely.
All right. So we are approaching the end of this interview segment, but before we go and check out the game, Moss, what is the best way we can help you and Dungeon Bodega Simulator?
All right, go and wishlist it, and then if you can buy it when it comes out on Tuesday, so or it's coming out on the 27th, and then if you can leave a review, it would be huge. The faster we get to 10 reviews on launch week, the much better the rest of the lifespan of the game goes. So if there's a chance you can wishlist it, that'd be great. If you can buy it, that's even better. And if you can buy it and leave a review, that's incredible. You have my whole heart forever if you're able to do that.
All right, you heard it here. If you want a Solar Punk Cat's whole heart, you need to do 3 things. 1, wishlist this game, Dungeon Bodega Simulator. 2, if you can, and you want to play it, buy the game. I believe it's going to be very reasonably priced.
$10 USD, and it should be priced regionally as well, so adjusted for markets.
That's like a coffee for some people. Some people, 2 coffees maybe. Like you can get that. And nice. We love seeing wishlisted. Thank you, Chi. So yes, 1, wishlist the game. 2, if you can and you want to, go buy the game. Go play it. And then afterward, give Moss some feedback by writing a review. Moss, remind us, 10 reviews is like a bare minimum of like helping you exceedingly. Like if people
Yes,
are like able to
until it hits 10 reviews, it doesn't say positive or negative. Once you hit 10, it says positive, negative. Once it hits 50, then it's like very positive, very negative, and then 500 is the overwhelmingly number.
All right, so I know we have 500 pizza puffs right here. I don't look at numbers, but I'm sure we have 500 pizza puffs. Come on, let's go make that a possibility here.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right. What's a bodega? Jen, we answered the bodega, but Moss, let me just throw it to you. What's a bodega?
Yeah, the bodega is a sort of specific to New York City, like a street corner shop or that sort of thing where you can get sort of daily necessities on top of food.
And Moss, what's a dungeon bodega simulator?
Dungeon Bodega Simulator is my fantasy shop sim game that you can get on March 24th, and the demo is currently available on Steam.
And one last thing, because everyone loves repetition. Top 3 things everyone's gonna do. Moss, list them out. The first one you gotta do after this is go to that link and
you're gonna go wishlist on the link. You're gonna, if you can, buy it on the day that it comes out on the 24th, or just the week that it comes out would be great. And then leave a review if you liked it. If you didn't, DM me or like use the in-game feedback and we'll fix it.
And then hopefully after it's been addressed, leave a review.
Exactly, yeah.
Awesome. And one other thing I wanted to share too, Moss was so very generous. There's a blue dog Easter egg in this game that we're going to check out in just a hot minute here. But I'll be sharing a special code you can use to witness and enjoy the blue dog Owlin Easter egg. Thank you so much for putting that together, Moss. That's really sweet of you.
Of course. And that will be visible in the demo when we get to release. I got to update stuff this weekend, so the demo's a little bit rough, but yes. There are blue orbs. I won't say it's not an Alan reference. There are orbs in the game. The Alan reference is different, but...
No.
Sorry, no spoilers.
Well, Moss has mislabeled the baby blue fugus. If there's something mislabeled in there, it is definitely a fugu. All right, well, I know we had Moss. Moss, I super appreciate you staying on late to come chat with the Pizza Puffs and me and tell us more about Dungeon Bodega Simulator. Thank you again for the opportunity to check out the playtest. I am going to be giving a game key of this away as soon as it opens up, and I'm going to purchase one of those keys. And so we're going to do a game key giveaway in today's stream, but I will deliver a game key to the lucky recipient after it releases on the 24th.
Also, you're welcome to give them that key, but it won't unlock until Tuesday.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else, Moss, that you want to share? I always hate saying last parting words because it sounds like I'm about to like pull out a weapon and be like, hiya!
not particularly. I'd say definitely update the game because I fixed the bug, so that's good to go. And then for chat, like lean into community where you can. Like that's more important today now than ever. And if you want to make a game, you absolutely can. Go try it. Like I guarantee you're more capable than you think you are.
Yes, definitely go check out Moss. We just gave Moss a shout out. They are right there. And again, if you're interested in making games, also feel free to reach out to Moss. Again, as you heard here, very enthusiastic about game development, and they also host an annual. I always butcher the name. Please, Moss.
VTuber Tiny Game Jam.
Thank you, VTuber Tiny Game Jam. I always get tongue twisted, man. But yeah, go check out Moss because it's a really wonderful experience. I've participated in the first one, and I wish I had more time because I want to participate in the other ones too. But yeah, it's always really fun to see what everyone's working on and get exposure as well as get experience in trying to build your own. But yeah, awesome. Well, Moss, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate you hanging on a little bit later, and thank you all for the thoughtful questions. I think that it was really fun to be able to chat through them with Moss. We're going to check out Dungeon Bodega Simulator in just a moment, but I'm going to go on a quick BRB because I want to update the game and make sure we can get past day 2. So,
sweet. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Moss. All right, we'll be in a quick little BRB, but I will showcase the game in just a moment. Say thank you to Moss, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you, Moss.